Remember a summer when you were 7 years old? It felt like an eternity, didn't it? An entire era of your life filled with endless afternoons. Now, think about last year. It probably vanished in what felt like a single blink. You might tell yourself it is just because you are busier now. You have bills, a job, responsibilities. But what if the way you experience time is actually shifting on a biological and physical level? Science shows that your brain is quite literally experiencing a drop in its frame rate, exactly like an old, laggy computer. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why time is speeding up. And more importantly, how you can hack your own brain to slow it back down. Let us start with the simplest explanation for this phenomenon, the pure mathematics of being alive. In 1877, a French philosopher named Paul Janet put forward a theory that completely changed how we look at age and time. It is known as proportional theory. Think about it like this. When you are exactly 1 year old, a single year represents 100% of your entire existence. That is literally all the time you have ever known. By the time you turn 5, 1 year is only 20% of your life. It is still a massive chunk of your memory. But when you turn 50, 1 single year is just 2% of your life. It is a tiny, almost insignificant fraction of what you have already experienced. From a purely mathematical standpoint, as you accumulate more years, every new year becomes proportionally smaller compared to the whole. Your brain naturally measures the present against the vast weight of your past. A summer break for a child is a significant percentage of their entire life history. For an adult, it is just a drop in the bucket. But proportional math alone cannot explain everything. It does not explain why the physical sensation of a day actually feels shorter. To understand that, we have to look inside the physical wiring of your brain. Imagine your brain as a high-end video camera. When you are young, this camera is brand new, operating at the absolute maximum frames per second. Children are constantly taking in massive amounts of high-resolution data. Every shape, every color, every texture is brand new information that needs to be processed. According to a fascinating physical theory by mechanical engineering professor Adrian Bajan, the perceived speed of time is directly linked to the physical degradation and complexity of our neural networks. When you are a child, your neural pathways are fresh, short, and highly efficient. Electrical signals jump across your brain almost instantly. But as you age, something physical happens inside your skull. Your brain grows. Your neural networks become vastly more complex, branching out like a massive, tangled forest. Because these pathways are longer and much more complicated, it literally takes more time for electrical signals to travel from one point to another. On top of that, as we age, these pathways degrade slightly, adding resistance to the flow of signals. What does this mean for your perception of time? It means your brain is processing fewer frames of reality per second. Because you are capturing fewer mental images throughout the day, the time between those images feels compressed. A child's brain might process 100 snapshots of a walk in the park, making the event feel incredibly long and rich. An adult's brain, dealing with longer neural pathways and processing delays, might only take 10 snapshots. When you look back at that walk, fewer snapshots make it feel like the event happened incredibly fast. Your internal camera has simply dropped its frame rate. But it is not just the physical wiring of your brain, it is also the chemical fuel running through it. Deep inside your brain, There is a complex system that acts like an internal stopwatch, and it runs heavily on a neurotransmitter called dopamine. Dopamine is often called the reward chemical, but it also plays a massive role in how we judge the passage of time. When you are young, your brain is practically flooded with dopamine. Everything is new, exciting, and highly rewarding. This high baseline level of dopamine makes your internal clock tick very fast. And here is the strange physics of the mind, when your internal clock is ticking incredibly fast. The external world, the actual ticking of a real clock, seems to move in slow motion. Have you ever waited for a roller coaster or a birthday party as a kid? The anticipation, driven by dopamine, makes time feel agonizingly slow. However, as you enter adulthood, your baseline levels of dopamine naturally begin to drop. The novelty of the world fades. Because you have less dopamine firing on a daily basis, your internal stopwatch begins to tick slower. And here is the cruel trick of biology. When your internal clock slows down, the external world seems to speed up. The days, weeks, and months fly past because your brain is no longer racing ahead of them. The physical and chemical changes in your brain are powerful. But the way your memory works might be the biggest time thief of all. The human brain is the most advanced, energy-hungry supercomputer on Earth, consuming about 20% of your body's energy. To prevent itself from burning out, it has evolved a brilliant, but highly destructive, energy-saving mode. It is called neural adaptation, or simply, routine. Think about your morning commute. Do you remember every single turn, every traffic light, or every car you passed on your way to work last Tuesday? Probably not. When you do the same thing over and over again, your brain stops recording the details. It realizes that this information is no longer a threat and no longer a novelty. So it simply stops wasting energy writing it into your long-term memory bank. Adult life is built almost entirely on routines. We wake up at the same time, eat the same breakfast, do the same job, and sit on the same couch. Because your brain is not recording any new data during these routines, when you look back at your week, there is nothing there. It is a blank tape, without new memories to anchor your perception of time. The days blur together into one giant, indistinguishable mass. You feel like time is flying, but in reality, your brain is just aggressively hitting the delete button on your daily life to save energy. This brings us to one of the most fascinating glitches in human psychology, the holiday paradox. Have you ever noticed that when you go on a vacation to a new country, the first few days feel incredibly long? You are navigating new streets, hearing a new language, eating strange food. Your brain is suddenly jolted out of its energy-saving mode. It is forced to turn the recording camera back on and capture every single detail to ensure your survival and navigation in this new environment. Because you are processing so much new information, the time you spend there feels rich, dense, and stretched out. But the paradox kicks in when you go back home. During the vacation, time seemed to pass quickly in the moment because you were having fun. But in retrospect, when you look back at that 1 week of travel, it feels like it lasted an entire month. Why? Because you have so many new memories filed away. Your brain judges the length of a past event by how many new memories were created during it. More memories equal more time. The holiday paradox proves that your perception of time is entirely flexible. So, if your brain's physical networks are slowing down, your dopamine is dropping. And your routines are erasing your memories, Are you just doomed to watch the rest of your life flash by in an instant? Not at all. You cannot stop the physical aging of your neurons. But you absolutely hold the remote control to your memory processing. If you want to slow down time, you have to ruthlessly hunt down novelty. You have to break the energy-saving mood of your brain. It does not mean you have to travel the world every week. You can start small. Drive a completely different route to work. Cook a recipe you have never tried before with ingredients you cannot pronounce. Listen to a genre of music you think you hate. Learn to juggle. Brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand. Every single time you force your brain to process something unfamiliar, you are forcing it to lay down new neural pathways and record new memories. You are adding frames back into the movie of your life. Time is not actually speeding up. It is just passing by unrecorded. By choosing to step out of your routine, you are telling your brain that the world is still vast, unpredictable, and worth paying attention to. You have the power to make this year feel like a lifetime, just by choosing to see it through new eyes.